for showing up. I know it's not easy to take time out of your life to come up here and listen to a bunch of dribble from some people that you can really care less about sometimes. But the truth of it is, we're trying. Mr. Toma and Mr. Skaggs, I appreciate them for showing up and helping me out with this. What we want to do here tonight is mainly get input from you, the citizens, on what you see that we're not doing enough of, or that we're not doing correctly, or any areas in which you think our capacity, we're not being used to our fullest extent. That's our main reason for being here. It's not to bash anybody else, or it's only, this is for you to let us know how we're not helping you people out the way you think we should be helping you out. That's about all I had to say on the opening meeting up, and I'm going to have Mr. Toma give a little bit. I know most of you didn't really get it to either see or read or really quite understand about the state of the city. But in my eyes, in the last 2 years, I think we've really come a long way. We've made some hard decisions, some that a lot of people didn't like at first, but that's the way government works sometimes. It's not always popular. But we're making some hard decisions. We've got our water problems, our sewer, our infrastructure is really starting to take shape. And I think another part of it is that we just started to address, last May and June it was, I contacted the board for the help me out here, the road. Special road district, thank you. Special road district, and I contacted Mr. Nagger. And we had conversations back and forth trying to feel out the situation, and it was, I was going into new territory, they were going into new territory. None of us were aware of it. In 1960, this had already been accomplished. So in our conversations back and forth, we had to find out what the state statutes was, how the city felt about it, how they felt about it, what the money was, how much it would be, how much it could be, how much are they going to have. And they had ran into tax problems like we don't know how much money we're going to have because of all the tax problems. A lot of questions had to be answered before we could actually get any information. And it's government, it takes a while. So in November, we knew their fiscal budget, which starts in January, their budget meeting, they got to have their numbers done. So we asked them, carve us out a little hole there so we might be able to have some additional funds to work with. If in fact you can't actually give us physical help to do a street or to do a connecting road or whatever the case may be. And they've agreed, and it's, what, 24 something?
24,3 plus.
24,000 and some change, which we haven't had the past 30, 40 years to operate with. So it's a foot in the door, it's a good start, and I really take my hat off to them guys, because it's not easy giving up part of your budget when you've been used to not doing that for 40 or 50 years. And let's see, some of the other things that we've just really gotten started into in the last couple of months is properties that have been neglected. About December, we really started putting some hard lists together. We wanted to take whatever properties we thought were dangerous to the public, number one. We had to address them first. Like I said, it's government, it takes a while. You have to get all your ducks in a row. You have to make your reports out. You have to notify the people. They have to come in and apply for certificates, and it takes a while to get started. So it's not like things aren't being done. They may not be done as fast as we'd all like. There again, that's government. We are making progress. Like, what we have, 12? 13 letters we sent out to different property. And unbelievably, the people that have just jumped through they've done it. They haven't complained. They haven't came in screaming and hollering. They've just started cleaning up properties. And we've made some unbelievable progress. And I can't say how happy I am about what's been going on, especially in Ward 1. That's where we've really maintained my efforts. That's where they've been. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Toma and let him give you a little bit about what's been going on with the city since he's been here some 8-9 months now, because he's really been he's really been, it's really hard to run a city when you don't have a leader. Someone who can tell you, well, you can do this, but you might end up in state court or federal court if you do this. This man knows a lot about the law, the way the government should be running the city, and he's really been a godsend to us. So I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Tony. Thank you.
First, before then, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. This is my first year being a city alderman, learning experience. First thing, many of you, I've seen your faces throughout the town and all that. Talk to some of you. If you guys have any questions with Ward 1, talk to me and Phil. I mean, we're here to represent you guys in Ward 1. We're here to take it back to the city, take it back to Tolman or Brenda and all that. Be free to call us anytime. Our phones are always on, open, and all that. So, again, I thank you all for coming tonight.
Okay. So I called Alderman Rogers about 2 o'clock this afternoon. I said, am I supposed to say anything tonight? Oh, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it.
Here comes the bus. He's under it.
So here I am. I'd like to inform you that the mayor is in attendance and Alderman Stupi is also here. So if we have questions that require mayoral decisions or Alderman Stupi's input, I'm sure they'll be glad to contribute. I gave a presentation at the Chamber of Commerce called The State of the City. And what I said is that this city is consistent and stable. And I know sometimes people find that a little boring, but the city has preserved its tax base. We've had relatively minor fluctuations in population over the years, and while we didn't ride the wave of economic expansion in the St. Louis area, we also aren't suffering from on the downside of that. I have friends in government who are having to lay people off, having to take employees who've been dedicated public servants for 20, 25 years and demoting them or reducing their rank just to meet their budgetary constraints. And we've had problems. I mean, the city's struggled, but our sales tax is starting to recover. We're able to produce a balanced budget without cutting services, and there aren't a whole lot of cities of comparable size or cities of any size who can say that. It's that kind of stability, that kind of consistency that allowed us to get an A+ rating, which is, they've all changed the rating system on bonds, but we refinanced the city's debt recently and got about the highest rating a city of this size could expect. And that's because that St. Genevieve is a community that has demonstrated that stability over years. So we have issues, we have problems, we have concerns, but in the scope of concerns, ours are relatively minor. When I first got here, people said, how's it going? I said, there's not a problem in the city that it can't be solved with a big pot of money. We have a lot of needs, but our basic needs are being met, and the citizens are stepping up to the plate and making the contributions necessary to preserve the level of service that they enjoy. I recently went to a meeting where a prominent citizen was talking about changes, and she said, well, I don't want certain things to happen because they will affect the small town, quiet kind of existence that I have here. And I said, no, I appreciate that, but if we continue to just kind of hold the status quo in order to keep that level of service that you like, you're gonna see increasing taxes because we have to grow in order to have the revenues that allow us just to keep up with the cost of maintaining current services. So I'm concerned, my number one concern is about how the city can contribute to fostering an environment where we can grow a little bit, we can add some jobs, and we can have some new housing. We can do the things that we need to do based on on a level of growth that is sustainable. Obviously, the growth that was experienced in areas north of here was not sustainable. And I would argue against that kind of thing. But the St. Genevieve is secure, and as I said, we are stable. And the issues that we're here to address tonight are kind of twofold. I know everyone's concerned about historic preservation and landmarks commissions and that whole thing, and I think we're more than willing to address those issues. The issues that Alderman Rogers alluded to have to do with two elements of the city codes. One is the public nuisance ordinance. And that's the ordinance that says you can't have trash in your yard. You can't have derelict vehicles. You can't allow your weeds to grow above a certain height. And it's up to the city and the city staff to the best of our ability, ensure that people are complying with those codes. When I interviewed for this job, Alderman, whom I mentioned, Keith wasn't there yet, but former Alderman Marler was there, and I said, you know, to me, code enforcement is all about trying to get compliance. The first thing you do is seek to get people to voluntarily comply with the codes and ordinances. That's before you try and enforce the rule of law. That's what Alderman Rogers is talking about. You knock on the door, you pull somebody aside, you say, hey, we'd like for you to address this problem. And most of them, when somebody brings it to their attention, will step up to the plate, solve the problem. Some won't. The second issue that we have is the dangerous building code. And that is a building that has code violations under the building codes, but it's gotten to the point where the presence of that building with the level of violations that it has represents a threat to public safety. And that's a different ordinance. So what we have been doing recently in the last several months is going about the business of trying to get voluntary compliance from all of the nuisances that we have found. And what we will be doing in the next month or so is presenting to the Board of Aldermen pictures, a PowerPoint presentation with what we believe to be buildings that, because of many cases of neglect with code violations, they have reached the point where some action is needed. And the board will direct the staff then what action they think is appropriate for those houses. We then, the staff, will take the necessary steps. So it sounds like, this is code enforcement is always a negative thing, and I've been doing it for a long time. But it's really a positive thing, because it is only by consistent enforcement of the codes that our community values are preserved, that we, from a law enforcement point of view, we know the evidence is that when properties start to decline, crime and incidences of vandalism increase, and by keeping our community at least up to the minimum standard of the city codes, we can make an investment in ensuring that your neighborhoods are safe, that your property values are secure, and that we are doing the things that we know will contribute to the quality of life that the residents in St. Genevieve have enjoyed and want to continue to enjoy. So I don't know what else to say. I don't know if that's what you wanted me to say.
You did good.
That's all I have to say.
You didn't let me down again.
Okay.
Having said that, unless Alderman Skanes has anything else to say, or do you? What I'd like for you all to do, just raise your hands if you want to ask a question, if you have a comment. Would you like them to come up here where they can be seen, or just you can swing the camera?
I can swing the camera.
Okay, just wherever you're at, just make yourself known and ask questions, or yell at us, or whatever makes you feel happy.
What do you intend to do with our levy money?
Well, I don't have it, and that's a board decision. The problem, as you know, you personally know, is that the Corps of Engineers told the city what an estimated value was of making certain improvements on phases 2 and 3 of the flood control project, and later it was discovered that phases 2 and 3 were more expensive than they had originally estimated, and the city had gone to the voters and gotten approval for funding at the earlier level of estimate. There's two things that can happen. The Corps is anxious for that project to be brought to a conclusion. Unfortunately, their conclusion is to say, okay, we've done our job, and here's the data that you paid us for already. Thank you very much. That doesn't solve the problem. The city is saying, you know, we've got this money in the bank that's dedicated for that purpose, and while we could use that money, the amount that we have doesn't really solve the problems that the people had and that we originally anticipated addressing. The thing that the Corps could do, and what we have asked for consideration, is to change the formula that we operate under. The current formula is 75-25. So the $3 million plus the city has in the bank was supposed to be our 25%. If the Corps can fund the improvements at a 90-10 ratio, then our $3 million is enough to make the match. And I have asked the elected representatives in Congress and Senate to consider that, and they are looking at it and to advise us of that possibility. I think that they will answer. There have been some answers in the meantime. Some research has been done by congressional staff, which is a big step. I don't have an answer. Ultimately, they're going to say, yes, we can do it, or no, we can't. If they say no, we can't, then it's a board decision to decide whether to proceed with the money that we have to make improvements that will be woefully inadequate to address the needs.
So what happens is, Kathy Waltz made the comment that, let me get back there. We get funding from the state for our historic preservation, and I can't say it word for word, but the funding that we get will cease. We get like a special grants or something from the state, and the obligation was to protect us against the 100-year flood, and the only way to protect us was through the levee. So, from my understanding is that the state, Governor Carnahan and them, somehow we get funding from the state of Missouri for historic preservation.
We don't receive any direct funding from the state of Missouri for historic preservation.
Do you remember when she said that? It was about, like, we would lose our, not our credibility, but it was something, an agreement between St. Genevieve and the state of Missouri, or...
They must have been agreement with the federal as far as, but that was if we would not go through with it. I guess we would lose our, well, I mean, there was a threat at one time by one of the members of the Corps that if we didn't, that came with actually a building in town, as far as that goes, that they were going to make us pay back the money we invested in the main levy, that if we didn't follow it. And I guess they could push that issue because that was the agreement that we had. I don't want to get anywhere with it, but I guess theoretically we could lose that if we didn't go through with doing something to control the flash floods. But I mean, at this point, they'd have a hard time doing it since they pretty well admitted that this was their mess up.
Well, my concern is that we have $3 million in the bank, and then you're going to leave it up to a board, but yet I pay $1,200 in flood insurance, me, one of 80 homes that pays that, and so then we're just left out there. How is our ward going to protect us? I mean, that's a lot of money that we saved that went for, that's what I'm asking is how do you intend to protect us if you use that $3 million for a bicycle park or something of that stature?
No, the $3 million will be used for flood control.
That has to.
It's the tax that accumulated that money was passed specifically for that, so it can only be used
For that
for
purpose.
for flood control. Yes. The other thing that we talked about doing and asking the Corps, I think we did, but was you're supposed to sign a cooperative agreement before you can spend any money and get any credit for it. but at that point, they have to have all the plans done, and you have to decide what you want to do. Well, right now, that budget is not within our budget, but could we go ahead, knowing that there are pieces of the plan that they agree on and we agree on, like the 3rd Street Bridge, could we go ahead and spend some of our money with the agreement with them that one of these days when it does get passed, that we'd get credit for it? And at least that would be what everybody believes is a bottleneck that they keep, or Mark, May the 8th, or whatever, they kept wondering out for some people's houses, if that bottleneck wasn't there. So if we could get credit in the meantime and spend the money where, again, agreed upon projects and those that are benefit.
But that money is not going to be used for anything outside of.
It can.
No, that's a point of law. Mr. Conley?
I think that, Mayor, I think Kathy was referring to the certified local government. We are one of 31 certified local governments, and as such, we have a landmark commission, and we get first choice of any leftover funding that the state has for any of our projects, like our sidewalks and our fancy light posts and all that sort of thing. And we would have to commit a real crime to lose that status. We've only been lightly spanked a couple of times. And it's not, frankly, going to happen. I mean, there are just too many of us that cherish our historic homes. But that's what she's referring to. She refers to that a lot. And it really is, you shouldn't worry about it. We're not gonna disintegrate that far. Nobody's ever really lost it before. So.
If you guys don't mind when we're talking, can you please stand up? We are videotaping it this evening for the people that couldn't make it tonight, elderly persons and all that. If you don't mind, just stand up when we talk. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else?
Can I ask you about, there's a couple grants out there, one is for biking and hiking trail along Main Street and the others for sidewalks at the school. And both of those are going to affect our ward. And they're both very badly needed because I pick up my grandchildren and the kids coming this way towards the north side of town. There's no sidewalks coming from the school till you get to 4th Street. And of course, all the school children run Main Street. And I think we're putting our children in danger, and I was wondering where those grants stand right now.
Well, the safe road, the safe way to school, we should be hearing from the state any day on
Well,
that.
yeah.
That's been a bottleneck.
The problem with the safe route to school is that a portion of the sidewalks was along the cemetery, and there was some concern about whether all of the people who were interred in the cemetery were inside the fence line. And so that had to be researched and evaluated, and they did that. And that was all before I got here. Since I arrived, there hadn't been much action. And so two things have occurred in the last 8 months. One is that apparently the level of federal scrutiny on these grants has increased. So the state review also increased. So this very same project the state signed off on a year ago. Now they have found some additional information they need in order to sign off on it, in my opinion, again. While that was happening, the state was reducing staff at DNR, and the person that I talked to, I don't know, 5 months ago, who told me we're 5 weeks away from giving you approval, is no longer responsible for that work. So I started over again with his assistant, or not his assistant, the person who took his place. As of 2 weeks ago, the engineer on that project understands what the state needs and has pledged to provide it on a fairly short timeline. I can't be more specific than that. As soon as that information is received by them and they're approved, we're ready to go out for bid, but we've been ready to go out for bid for a year and a half. So But it's still, we're still eligible, the funds are still there, and as soon as the state signs off on it, we'll go. The problem on the hiking and biking trail is a little different, and that came from DNR's concerns with regard to the trail and where it goes through the floodgates, and how the proposed recreational trail on the levee would integrate with the Main Street hiking and biking trail, what they would do at the floodgates, and we got all that resolved. It went from a hiking and biking trail to a hiking trail because we had to narrow the width of the trail, but that's okay. And then we got to the end and we had to get the railroad to sign off on a lease for the use of their property where the parking area will be. Well, the staff had been dealing with Burlington Northern since this started. And so the lease was proposed for Burlington Northern to sign off on it, and somebody in Burlington Northern said, oh, wait a minute, we don't think that's our property. So 2 weeks ago, we did the research and discovered that indeed it is not Burlington Northern's property. And it's a Union Pacific property, and we initiated through some contacts that Alderman Rogers had conversations with the right person in UP, and that's back on track now. So I don't know how long it takes a railroad to sign a lease, but that's how long it's going to take before this project will proceed. But at least we got the right railroad now.
I've got a couple of people trying to prod them up there, so, and they were pretty high, so hopefully that'll get done quickly. Anything else? Anyone else?
It'll be a short meeting if you guys would come up with something.
I'm not going to say one more thing.
Sure.
Now, Mr. Rogers and Mr. Skaggs knows that I'm angry about this. Where do you draw your line in nuisances? I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church and on the committee to redo the O'Neill House. And a couple weeks ago, I was at the church and was called and told that we had to remove 2 bales of straw from our front porch that had been there for 5 days because we had just removed them from our nativity. I drive home, there's a lot bigger things than those bales of hay. I had my son-in-law pick them up immediately. I asked the zoning administrator to put that in writing, and she did not do that. We never received that letter. And, but I had my son-in-law remove them that very day because we didn't want that hassle. You know, we want to be good stewards to the community. But I went through this with Phil for about a half an hour. There's got to be something between a nuisance and just common sense.
I agree, and I really don't know what the criteria is. Sometimes it could be as much as a neighbor that just don't like it. It could be somebody makes a comment. I really don't know what actually starts this stuff in motion. I really don't. Like I told you, I'll be down in 10 minutes. I'll throw it in my truck. I'll haul it off. And I understand.
I will tell you that you and Keith both offered to pick it up, and I said, let it alone. Let me be mad for a while.
Personally, I thought it was ridiculous, but I don't make all the decisions. But I do feel that sometimes maybe a little overzealousness is not the best choice to take. I don't know. I appreciate your call, and I would hope you would call me again if that ever happens again, because it doesn't seem like a big thing, but then it is a big thing. I mean, don't you think we really have better things to do than worrying about it? And it was for a decorative purpose anyway. I mean, it wasn't feeding a goat on the front steps, for crying out loud. You know, I mean, what are you going to do at Halloween? Make you rip your jack-o'-lanterns and your straw men off your porches? I mean, I think it's just a little better if we all try to get along a little bit more, not quite be so nosy.
What it does is it makes people angry.
I know it does. I absolutely agree.
Not want to support the community quite as
I
much.
absolutely, and I think that, well.
I believe there's a paper trail in everything that happens in this world.
I believe
some entity in this city that knows what happened she's talking about. They know the phone call, they know, and maybe it should have been calmed down before it got that far. I feel that gives other people spite to call their neighbor. I've known a few incidences. I came in late, I was at a board of the landmark, so I really didn't get what the question was, and I'm presuming it was what can we do to better our rule? Is that what we're...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a few things. They mentioned the bail. I've got a trampoline that's had a queen-size mattress and box spring on it for 6 months in the front yard. I've got a blacktop road right next to my house that's 85% mud. You have to go into the other lane. I live in probably one of the most kid-populated areas in the north, okay? I know that none of my aldermen have drove on that road, or they'd go, well, we've got to get the mud out of it. Now, I can personally go to Mr. Pinkley, very good man, he'll be over there the next day and get that mud out there. I don't, you know, I'm getting to the point now where I want to scream, and I want people to know me, and I want to start pointing people out. She had a legitimate complaint, something as little as straw bales. We follow a BOCA maintenance code, I think.
International, but that's okay.
Pardon?
The code is the international code.
Code.
It's not the BOCA anymore, that's a small.
Okay, but we follow a code, so it's not somebody's personal thing of how you should maintain a house. I'm working very hard to get my house up. I do believe I lived in the ugliest house in St. John city limits for probably 3 years. But my yard has got compliments. And I think that the aldermen need to get out and maybe take a drive in my part of town and go, yeah, there's mud there. And what the nice thing about this is what I guess I'm trying to say, are these homes or rental properties. Somebody's making a living on them. So that makes my alderman a little bit more responsible to back up. Now, if you had a young couple that's trying to make it, could be a little easier on them. Maybe they couldn't afford trash that week, or maybe trash this week. But they own this rental property. There's somebody that owns and making a rent off this money. I think that makes it stand out a little bit more than somebody knocks on the door and says you've got 20 days to fix this. Or if it's an imminent danger, like dogs that are getting out of the fence and attacking people in the street. That happened in my neighborhood. The neighbor was gone for a camping trip and the dog ran out and bit somebody in the butt. The fence is still not adequately to hold the dogs in. I just feel that the ball's dropped there. I think it'd take 8 hours to go through every house and just write down what you think improvements and then look what we can do to better.
Well, then what you're asking us to do is about the same thing that half the citizens in this town are upset about with the Landmarks Commission, because then we're becoming land Nazis. We're gonna, now trust me, I understand what you're saying. They call them land Nazis. There's been all kinds of different words for, you know. But here, I don't think I have the right to tell you how to clean your house, how to keep your yard. But now, let me finish. What I do say is, if there's an ordinance and there is a fraction or an infraction in that ordinance, and it's brought to my attention, and I go by your house every morning. I don't know whether you know it or not, but I do go by your house every morning. About 9:30, if you want to know what time. And I don't ever see you there. But anyway, to explain what I'm saying, the aldermen are not elected to be put into office to go chasing people down who have.
But you're elected to represent the people of Ward 1.
And
I absolutely agree with that.
we have a national maintenance code, which you just said, and most of what we're saying is common sense. We're not asking you to go in their home and teach them how to raise their kids. There's a trampoline 15 feet from the road with a queen-size bed and mattress on it, been there for 6 months. That's just not acceptable. I mean,
I understand that.
okay, in 6 months we have mud out into the road that is a hazard, dangerous. That's not being a land Nazi. You know, I mean, I believe you can't make them, hey, pick the bicycles up every night. I can understand that. Get the swing set out in the front yard 10 feet off the road, because when I drive, I got to watch it. But I do believe the common sense would help. And the common sense is you know, if somebody jumps you and says, hey, you're being too strict, says, hey, I'm just doing my job. The National Maintenance Code says that you can't do this. And I think the people would clear it up. We've just gotten so lazy we haven't did it. there's things people come up to me and say, Ed, what the heck? And I go, oh, okay. You know, I didn't notice. I got looking at it for so long. It looked good to me. But, you know, and since I've been elected on the landmarks, I've cleaned my act up. I've cleaned out the back of my shed, hid that stuff around the corner, because I feel that now I've stepped up to where I'm an example, and I feel that it's not that hard to see down the road.
I know you came in a little bit late, but, so you missed the part that we said earlier about 13.
Well, the 13 properties are the ones that are going to be brought to the Board of Aldermen.
In Ward 1?
Were all of them? I don't think all of them were, were they?
Not all.
You'll see the PowerPoint. There are 13.
No.
Well, there's 12 there.
But there's a progress that we've elected to go with. The most dangerous buildings first, and then we're
If anyone has what they think is a public nuisance, and I hate to say this, but it's mostly a complaint-driven system.
Right.
You know, we have a standard, but we don't have the public nuisance, or, I don't know how to say police, but anyway, so if somebody calls and said, I've got a problem, you know, or I've observed a problem, you know, Alderman Rogers came to me and said, we've got this area over here that I think is a problem, we investigate it. If it meets the test, we contact the property owner. But generally, it requires some input, unless it's the most obvious thing that anybody would notice. And that's probably what happened in the case of the straw bales. I don't know.
We actually had it. It's kind of funny. Because we had it the 1st of October, we put them out front, and we used them for the scarecrow on in front of the Heritage Days. So we decided to move them to the back of the house so that we could use them for the Halloween party. So then we decided to move them into the nativity set, and we had them there up until 5 days before we got that call. So, I mean, it was kind of like, you almost know somebody was just waiting for us to put them out front.
I thought you made real good use out of 2 bales of hay is what you did.
What I wanted to tell you is call, and if you're, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable calling and talking to whoever you get, call me. And because like as an example, I didn't know about this because it wasn't a problem that rose to the level of my attention. Sometimes if you call me, then I know about it from day one and can pay more attention to it, or might be able to stop something really silly from happening. So don't hesitate. And that doesn't mean you're ratting on your neighbor necessarily, but in many cases, we're not observing or seeing what you see because you're living with it every day. So again, don't feel at all reluctant to pick up the phone and call and ask for me or whoever you want to ask for.
I have to ask a question. Is there a code against having a bale of hay on your porch then? Because about 5 years ago, I had one out for Halloween with decorations, and then after Halloween, I put a cover over it and I put Christmas decorations on it. I thought it was kind of cute. So
I don't think there is. Otherwise, half the people at Halloween time would really be in trouble. Thank you.
My question is to, I guess either the Alderman or to Mr. Toma. I'd like to know what prompted you to begin sending out these notices after so many years of failed property maintenance in this town.
You go ahead. I'm going to point to you.
I'm going to be the bad guy here. One of the reasons I was asked by some people to run was because I'm not one of those guys that will follow the lead dog all the time. As most of you know, and it gets me into trouble, and this is probably going to get me into trouble. But we've had so many complaints. The first year I was like Alderman Skaggs. The first year you're in city government, you walk in and you start staring at a bunch of things you're not familiar with. You've got, it literally takes you a year to understand the process and go to the firehouse meetings and all the meetings you got to do. And then whatever you don't get out of that, you got to ask somebody, what they mean, because they use terms you're not familiar with, and it literally takes you a year to get enough grease in your wheels to where you feel like rolling. Then I had some property owners come up to me and they said, you know, we're tired of this ward looking like a slum. When are you going to do something about it? And I just literally blew up. And I said, look, if I hear the word slum one more time, I'm going to scream. Because there are some nice homes on this end of town. Because a lot of them are rental properties, we've gotten a, long story short, I said, all right, you want to clean this place? I only got a few more months if I lose the election. Let's go for it. I'll make some people mad. So I went in to Mr. Coleman and I spilled my guts. I says, look, we've been riding around town, me and Alderman Skaggs, and we got some properties, and let's get them cleaned up. Let's start. Now, I haven't been an alderman that long, so what happened 10, 12, 15, I'm sorry, mea culpa, I wasn't here. But we're here, and like I said, it takes a little time. We're working on it, and if, by all means, if the people of this ward aren't happy with what I'm doing, I'll play more golf next year, or this year. But we are working on it.
And it takes that for the staff to feel that they can act.
Yeah.
Because if you go out and cite somebody for a violation of the code,
You're not popular.
and the board doesn't have the political will, then what happens is, they get a call from a constituent, and then they call the staff member, and then you get the message that maybe you shouldn't be doing that. So the Board of Aldermen need to, and the staff need to be on the same page. And so
Don't you think that the aldermen should be more responsible? I mean, don't you think they should be informed, like, hey Keith, I got this call, this lady's grass, the neighbor's grass is like 3 feet high, this is somebody whose home's in foreclosure, can you go deal with it? I mean, instead of making, Keith has, instead of making like a nuisance order of it, it's more of a neighborly thing. When you go and say, can we help you? Is there something that we can do for you? Hey, Mrs. Elderly lady, let the city mow this and then we'll build it. That grass was 3 feet tall all summer since that person left. And she complained and complained and complained and nothing. And then finally I was like, well, let me call Alderman Skaggs. Within a week, that grass was mowed. The city figured out who to bill that to. I mean, I think the aldermen should be a little more responsible instead of it going through like a police report or whatever. I just think that it should be more neighborly than being more of like, I'm the ward of this, the prisoner guard of this area.
Because I think there was a house catty corner from you, Mr. Rodman.
Yeah.
That was,
Exactly.
that went to crap,
Right, going right to the county fair.
And they got that.
I didn't, and that's been there a long time.
I mean, nothing was done,
Yeah.
that grass was like that.
Yeah, that's a unique situation. It's outside the city.
It's not actually.
Oh, that?
It is. It's the first house in the country.
We can ask them to cut their grass, and if they don't cut it, we can cut it for them, as being suggested here.
So
And
that-
because our authority under the public nuisance ordinance extends beyond the city limits. Our authority under the dangerous building ordinance, however, does not. So we can't make them do anything to the house.
That's where the laws from the city and the county sometimes don't really help you out.
So that house right there was out in the county, that's in the county.
That's the first house in the county.
Doesn't municipal code, state code say that the city has control within 1 mile of our city limits? That's municipal,
Well, it's not for
state
all-
statute, not municipal, that's state statute, that we have control within 1 mile of our city limits, and it just happens that, as Phil knows, my nephew has the house next door to that and was trying to sell it. And he's just not getting, everybody's going, that's a mess. And,
Well, there's been a lot of suggestions, but none of them we can talk about. I don't like looking at it either, trust me.
well,
And
I'm sure you
I've
live right across the street.
I've begged, I've pleaded, and I don't like to have the cops come to somebody's house and force them to cut their grass. But when it gets to where you don't know what's living in that grass half the summer.
Of course, there's nobody in the house. So
Yeah, and that's especially bad.
Can't the city just set up a time frame and say, if they mowed in this time, we'll go mow it, and then we'll bill you for it?
I'm sure there is a time.
Let me make another point. I'm going to ask a question, and why I'm making this point is that I'm going to say that, so what you've said here is that this is not what we heard at the last meeting, that Landmarks was the Hitlers that was out doing this. This is the business of the city and the administrative people to do this. It should not be put on Landmarks to go out and say, this house needs to be fixed, that house needs to be fixed. That's not their job. And this is what you're trying to tell us right now. Why wasn't that said at the last meeting?
Well,
I didn't hear that. I sat through the whole meeting and I did not hear you stand up and say, as an alderman, we make the laws, we hire the people to work in City Hall. That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to go out. The Landmarks are not policemen. That these people are the policemen. They're paid to send somebody around and say, this house needs to be worked on, this house needs to be fixed, and it's their administrative job to do this, not Landmarks. That was never brought out in the last meeting. Are you saying that now right here?
I think it was brought up, and I think Brenda did address that. Because there seems, at that meeting, there was and this is, I feel like we're covering the same ground again and again, but there's a distinction between the obligation of the city, and if they go to the city and their house is in historic, they have to go to get a COA, okay? They get their COA, then they got to go before Landmarks. It's basically the same thing. So the failure in the past has not been a cohesive working between the Landmarks and the board 100% of the time. That's not exactly a secret. Will it always be? I don't know. I would hope to, I would think so. I would like to think so.
Let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't it be cohesive if this man researched 189 properties in 4 years came before Landmarks, and only 10, that's about 5%, 5 out of 100, were denied for a particular reason because it didn't meet the code or it didn't meet, you don't think that's cohesiveness with the Landmarks and the citizens? Then I think you better be telling the citizens that they need to elect new aldermen to create new ordinances because it's your ordinance, not Landmarks ordinance.
Well,
I think there's a lot of cohesiveness with the Landmarks, since I was on it for over 16 years, and I think that they worked very well when people came before them. But here's the problem. They don't come before Landmarks. They do it on their own, and there is no city in any town, any state, any government that allows people to just do whatever they want to their property without coming for a permit, whether it's through Landmarks or building code or anything else before they can do that.
well, that's not always true
This
either.
town think they shouldn't do that. It's just unbelievable.
That's not always true either. We had a young man had vinyl siding on his house, trying to fix his house up. I went to both meetings. I was at the Landmarks, and I was at the board, and I was talking to a man in private. Let him put a vinyl siding on his house. He wanted to put vinyl windows in. You said no. He says, you did tell him, however, he could put wooden windows in that were vinyl clad. I fail to see the cohesiveness there.
You wish me to speak on that?
Sure. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Let's say he puts wooden windows in. Now, it's just a piece of wood like this is right here.
Absolutely.
What's he gonna coat it with?
I assume it's going to be
He's
some
gonna
kind of
paint
vinyl paint.
That's exactly right. He's gonna put vinyl paint on it. But he has a window that is secure to the house and is appropriate for the house and is more economically better for the house than to put aluminum or a vinyl piece of plastic as a window, because he's doing disservice to the property and to the house. If someone said, look, I don't like that vinyl on there, I want to take it off, they can, but they still have a wooden window, which is what the significance of the house is. But there is also the part about the heat exchange, the BTUs. Through wood, BTU loss is 0.54.
Yeah,
And so what
I
we're saying
understand what
is,
you're saying, Mr.
why are
Marcus,
you
but
putting
that's
something
not
on
the
there?
point.
Well, why are you putting something? We also don't tell the man who is going to paint his house he has to go out and get horsehair from a horse and make his brushes and make his own paint, because that was probably what was on
I
it,
understand
$200
that,
house.
but that, to everybody in the city that listened to that argument, they say, well, if he can have vinyl clad windows and he's got vinyl siding, why don't they just let him put the vinyl? Do you understand the
I
perception?
understand that.
It's all the perception.
I understand
The reality
that.
may be wood windows are 100 times better. I don't know. I don't.
Yes, and I understand that if he's going to paint it with vinyl paint, because that's what's available. I mean, acrylics is a vinyl.
Sure.
Acrylics is a plastic, and that's what you buy today. You don't use lead paint. You do use what you can buy today, and it's a better product. But he still has a wooden window, which is more secure for the house and is better for the home.
I totally get where you're coming from. All I'm trying to do is to tell you
And he'll
that
pay less
the
for
perception
roofs
is
than he will for
different.
vinyl.
The perception is different if you're a homeowner of what you hear and whatever the facts may be about what's the best window.
But vinyl won't outlast the wood, I'll tell you that. I don't care what.
Then why give him the permit to put the vinyl siding?
Why did they let him put the vinyl siding on?
Yeah.
The vinyl siding he put on his house, has everybody seen it?
Yes.
A lot of people aren't familiar that that's vinyl. He put a vinyl product on his house and kind of matched what was on it. Very expensive, I don't care what.
And it looked nice.
It was very expensive, and the landmarks applauds that. I mean, they would like to see it, if you're gonna put vinyl siding on, when you drive by his house, look at the type of vinyl siding he uses. The only way you know it's vinyl is the sheet on it, which could be taken care of. Now, vinyl windows are vinyl windows. Now I'm on the board of landmarks now, and I guarantee you, as long as I'm on there, things are gonna change. I went to a board meeting tonight that we were gonna vote on four things tonight, and the first thing I said before the meeting, it says, I think I'm the only one here able to vote. We don't have a quorum. So we talked about it for a while, and we realized we didn't. These people weren't re-voting back on. It was brought to my attention by an individual, that he doesn't like the idea of we having rules, not abiding by our rules. So I said something, and to my amazement, two of them says, you're right, Ed. Yeah, they didn't think about it. No argument, they weren't mad, so they left. I asked a few of them if they'd stay and go over some things with me, and they sat and explained, things to me. And now we're prepared how to help the people that are come to us for this certificate of application and appropriateness. I mean, so it's gonna, the landmarks is gonna do a lot better. I mean, and they are good. We run into building permit things that is causing trouble, and that's what I feel he was talking about. So I just wanted to defend some people.
I have a comment and a question. I was at the January 23rd meeting, and I have to admit that until that meeting, I did not understand the difference between what landmarks does and what building ordinances are for. I would always say, oh, that property looks horrible, why wouldn't landmarks clean it up? I didn't understand that that wasn't their job. So I don't know who it was in that meeting that explained that, but I got that out of that meeting. I may not still fully understand each and every thing and whose responsibility it is, but I did get that out of that meeting. My question is regarding the ordinances that you're speaking of, the weeds and things like that. Does that fall under part of the job of the building inspector?
Well, the building inspector reports to the code official, who reports to me. So ultimately, it's my job. It's the code official's job. In this case, that responsibility is delegated from the city administrator to Brenda Schloss, and the building inspector reports to her.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand how that
Okay.
answered my question.
There's me, Brenda Schloss. You've met Brenda?
Yes.
She's the code official.
Okay.
In her absence, I'm the code official.
Okay.
The building inspector reports to the code official.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he doesn't have any independent jurisdiction. He has to go through the designated person who has the authority.
Okay. And then my question was tonight coming in, Mr. Rogers, are you the alderman and liaison to landmarks?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Does that mean you advise landmarks,
No,
being
no.
the alderman, or do you report back to the alderman as to what was?
That's, my main function is to take whatever message that the Landmarks Commission has to deliver back to the Board of Aldermen, and if there's a question of something being legal or not legal, take it to the city attorney. But the people that's on there, they know what they're doing. They've been there so long. Most of them quote chapter and verse, whatever infractions is being done. And they've done it for so long, it's old hat to them. I really think a lot of the problems has just been most people don't understand. There's two sides of that fence, two parts of government that they're just not, I don't know, not separated enough or not, I don't know what the real problem is. That's one reason that I've asked for some things to be done at the landmarks. I've had 3 lists handed to me. One of them had 477 homes, one of them had 512, and one of them had 655. I really don't know what the accurate count is. I've asked for that last July, Frank?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. There's homes that I know that since they've been on there, some of them's either been damaged, left to go, burnt, whatever, that they're not actually on there anymore. So what the exact count is, I really to this day right now don't know. But I do know Linda said she was going to comprise a list as current as possible and get it back to me. But to do that and to do her other job, that is going to take some time. Unless we've got some people want to ride around town, write down addresses.
Can I kind of answer that question?
Sure.
Because after the flood of 93, I getting that area lined up. I think Frank can attest to that, that we have a National Historic Landmark District. Well, the mayor knows that. He was on all of the landmarks at that time. That has 53 historically significant landmark homes. Now then there's a National Register District that has 800 homes. And it seems to me, just reading the local paper, that there's not been any deciphering between the two. You know, we have a very historic community that I'm proud of because my heritage is French and St. Genevieve, and I don't want to lose anything. But when you start coming out to this side of town and telling people they can't put on a carport on a 1960s brick home, you lose your respect for the preservation in the community. Now, I don't know where that line is drawn, and I'm glad I'm out of City Hall so I don't have to draw it. But that's the way it's written up. Is that not right, Frank?
A board of people that were hired by the city, by the Board of Aldermen, and who have extensive knowledge in that business, surveyed the town and came up with a list of buildings which should be on the historic register. They are.
That's the 53.
And those are the buildings that we try to enforce the code for. Not the code, but the guidelines. The others, the 1960 building you refer to, it's not on the National Register, but we would like nothing to be done there, such as a high ugly fence in the front yard up against the sidewalk. Anything that affects the historic significance of the district, the ambiance of the streets. We do look at that, but we do not look at the details of a 1960 building. That's not in our purview. Our purview stops at the National Register. And there are the 51 or 52 national landmarks.
And that's all there is. And to make that clear is a National Historic Landmark is something that's outstanding in this country. There's only about 2,000 of them.
Correct.
Where National Register districts, there's like 150,000 in this country. So that tells you how important the nucleus of our town is.
Absolutely. And a lot of, just to throw more gray paint on the building, the contributing building debate, and then if there's contributing buildings, if there's enough of them, the buildings that are closer to that, are they contributing buildings? It's kind of like a chain, doesn't have an end to it. That's one reason I want to get this information. I want everyone to be aware of what the information is. I want them to know what constitutes a contributing building, what does not constitute a contributing building, and what the difference is between all 3 phases. Actually 4 phases, If you go contributing building to a contributing building. Because that's what actually can happen. And I don't think anyone wants every home in this town to be in that. In fact, I know they don't. But that's not for me to decide or to make that judgment on. I'm just trying to get it clarified. That's what I've been trying to do for 8 months. So, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten it done quicker, but it hasn't been for lack of trying.
And that's not what Landmarks does either. They don't decide what to contribute.
No. That's already been
Decided
decided.
by,
The National Park Service.
there you go. They think that Landmarks decide that. Landmarks doesn't make those decisions.
No, that decision was made, what, in 72 or something? Most of them?
Began like 68
No,
or
we
68.
started in 68.
Yeah.
But then there was a more recent study done, I don't remember, that, well, in 68 there was only 32. It was expanded to 53 and,
I think there's 89.
I can't
I think there's
remember
89
what I did
on that.
yesterday,
I think
so
there's
I'm not
89
sure.
on that state one. There's 89 on that.
It was probably
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
But you have to realize, in 68, how many years ago was that?
Well, and I
So
understand
in
it.
another 40 years, the houses that were built in 19,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
whatever. are gonna
Which
be
reinforces my point, why wasn't this done 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 15 years ago, and kept current all along? That's the end of the bull I've got a hold of. And I'm not getting very far very fast, but I am trying. Yes, sir.
I would say this, that I spent a lot of years on landmarks, and I've seen a lot of liaisons that have come from the alderman. And some of them attended our meetings, and some of them didn't attend the meetings, but they were liaison. And that you were one of the few that would step up to the plate. There's only one or two others that would ever step up to the plate in all the years I was on it and say, yeah, I'm going to take this back to the alderman because this deserves some decision on their part.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Shrimp?
Yeah, I'm very confused. And I look around, hopefully there's some people here to straighten me out.
Sure they are.
And I guess I'm really kind of questioning, question I guess was directed towards members who are appointed to commissions, boards, whatever. Do they have to be reappointed and reapproved? And
You want to know the way it
the
should
only
be
reason,
done?
the reason I say this is, and maybe I'm the only one who believes this, and Ms. Ketting, I'm not trying to pick on your group, I'm only using that as an example. I kind of believe that their meeting tonight had it going on. I don't know if it did or not. Could have been illegal. Only in that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there are people who are still on that commission through no fault of their own that are sitting in a chair that has expired. Their term has expired. Now, it's kind of no different than your term as an alderman or your term as a mayor.
Well, it is, because we know when our term's up, we lose the votes.
When your term is up,
Exactly.
you're gone.
Exactly.
You've got
No more
you have
say.
no say in that chair.
That's right.
And I'm just questioning, what's the difference?
Maybe the mayor would like to address that.
I don't know.
Well, you very well may be right, and we're going to address that situation.
I find it, you try to be a good citizen, and Mrs. Kenning says, Trump, you gotta do this. And you say, okay, I'll do that. I'm gonna abide by your rules. But isn't the converse fair also that the city abides by their rules? Where am I wrong?
I don't know what's wrong.
And like I say, it's through no fault of the individuals. someplace in City Hall, somebody can pull up a spreadsheet in a computer, go back into a binder or something, and there's a roster there of people who sit in a chair. And it's got date of appointment, date of expiration, and hey, I gotta do something. Help me out here.
No, think it's been done that way. I'm not trying to make an excuse for it, but it was, if people was willing to stay on boards. I'm not saying it's right, but you're right, it should be, it probably should be. I didn't get our numbers.
It's not a matter of saying, Mr. Meyer, we don't want you, your time has expired. That's not the point. If the gentleman is willing to stay, go for it.
Right.
It's hard enough to find people to fill these positions, but I think, isn't it a basic duty or the basic requirement of the city to follow up and at least go through the motions, to reappoint the individual, to go before the Board of Aldermen and reapprove the individual? If you don't do that, the first 7 people assigned to that committee 50 years ago could still be sitting there. I just fail to understand why, if a chair has an expiration date assigned to it, just by the mere fact that there is an expiration date tells me that there's some action required on the part of somebody to do something.
I don't think he did anybody.
No, I'm not saying that's not the point.
Why do you pay the Alderman to get?
Everybody
That's not the point.
I know that, but I'm saying, he's not gonna get anybody. Those people that want to be on the land also volunteer. He can beat the bushes for a year.
I understand that.
There's people
I
that
understand that. And Mr. Meyer wants to be on the committee? God bless you. We'll call it.
there was some error in.
But isn't it Mr. Gramminger's responsibility to say,
I have
hey,
been there,
Frank,
I've
did you
been on
sit?
the committee for 2 years, a little better, that's about 2.5 years now. The term is 3 years. The term is not over. I have been on it previously, and I've been on, I think, just about every other committee in the community, and I was an alderman. And to tell you the truth, you don't get a whole lot of people wanting your job when you're volunteers.
It's a short, very short list. And especially when you're on this committee because you take a lot of flack.
I understand that.
Even though we don't disapprove a lot of things.
I really, I understand where you're coming from, but, all I'm just saying is, you as elected people, people who sit in important positions, you expect us as citizens to abide by the rules. And as good citizens, we should do that. That's not the debate. But I think that the city has a responsibility to abide by the rules that they say they have. That's all I'm saying. And whoever dropped the ball there, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think somebody did.
Yeah, but I think it was dropped a long time ago.
Does that make it right?
No, it doesn't make it right.
All we could do is.
I've had all kinds of things about historically this and historically that. You know what? It doesn't cut it. I'm sorry.
But we can't do anything but go forward, as the mayor said.
I understand that. Yes, we go forward. We go forward from here and now. Do we go forward in the manner we say we are going to do, or do we just revert back to historically it's always been that way?
We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
If I may ask Mr. Trevor a question, are we wanting to go through the formality then when a person's 3-year term is up?
Well, I tell you, tell you what,
Would you like to serve again? And
No.
if he says yes, then.
that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. I mean, as someone who worked and designed bridges for 40 years, I was involved in a very big lawsuit in St. Louis County. You know, there's little things like T's have to be crossed and I's have to be done. I don't know that I would want to put this, if I was mayor, which will never happen, but I don't know that I would want to put the city of St. Genevieve in jeopardy over some trivial technicality. I mean, do you want, you know, Mr. National Park Service come in and say, hey, we'd love to put this big sign in here and say, St. Genevieve is a national park, but you know what? Dick Gruminger just kind of let this slide for the past 10 years, or the mayor before him, or whoever, and you know what? You didn't do what you say you did.
Very
That's
good
all
point.
I'm saying.
That's a valid point.
That's all I'm saying.
I spent 4 hours every day, right? I went through 25 years of minutes and records. And because I was curious to see if anybody had ever been reappointed. And Dick Gruminger is not the villain. It goes way back. You know, there are people that served for 25 years and were never reappointed. And the ordinance reads that the mayor has 60 days in order to reappoint someone whose term has expired. And then they really don't have a legal right to serve. The advisory council in Jefferson City has pretty much the same agreement. The governor has only so many days to reappoint you, but then you can't come back and serve it. Nobody did this deliberately. And I don't think any real harm was done. But I think that a lot of people, Mike is right, nobody really wants to serve on this. I think that it's only healthy that people be revolved. You know, there's a revolving of people on this. Nobody should have to take all that heat, all that time. And there's a certain amount of corrupting that takes place that isn't healthy for the commissioners either to be on there that long.
We will have this on our agenda for Thursday night.
No, I can say
Thursday night?
no, but didn't.
We
We've already
will
identified
address
the ones that need to be reappointed, and it will be on.
I just want to say one last thing, since it was Dick that did the only one that I could find reappointed.
You know, and some jurisdictions do provide that people serve until they are reappointed. Now, whether that's healthy is another question altogether, but the other way of solving this problem is to add that proviso in the code.
Not healthy.
Yeah, I'm not proposing, I'm just saying that it's not that way.
The ordinance is a fine ordinance, it just was forgotten.
I just want to say that I don't think that's true, because I served as zoning administrator for 20 years. And I would call, and I think there are people in this room that can attest to my calling and saying, your time's up, do you want to serve again? I referred it on to the mayor, and I don't know that Dick was mayor at the time or not, but everyone got asked if they wanted to.
So that was actually part of your function
It was
then?
part of my job as
Okay.
zoning administrator. And I did that because people get tired of serving. I get tired of serving on committees, and I felt I needed to ask them, do you want to do another 3 years? I also want to say this, that we have went through a lot of city administrators in the last 3 years, and I definitely hope, Mr. Tolman, that you stay for several years, because it takes someone, a leader, to get a handle on it. And you guys serving 2 years, you know, by the time you learn this job, you're going to either decide to serve 2 more years or you're going to run. And so it's hard, and it's the same way with Dick, you know. He may not be mayor in a couple of years, and that responsibility is getting dropped because we're not keeping a good city administrator. And as I said, Mr. Toma, I hope you stay for many years. But
That's my plan. Thank you.
Trail?
Yeah, I was gonna say, everybody's kind of pointing to Dick, there is a paid official. She said here mean, it's like I'm saying, the finger can be pointed to somebody for this mistake. I mean, I read the bill, I brought it up tonight at the meeting, and we didn't have a meeting. It's being addressed. It'll be corrected here in a week. It ain't gonna take 6 months, it isn't gonna take 2 years. This problem will be addressed the next time the Board of Aldermen meet. Because the names will be given, they'll be reappointed, hopefully they will be reappointed. We might not have enough people to have a quorum because of all the trouble we're having, but it's been addressed. And thanks to some citizens, it's been brought to the attention, so now we gotta see if anybody wants to be on. I'm kinda on it. Might be lonely.
We'll keep it going.
Anyone else have anything? Mr. Marler?
We've talked about this most of the evening, but there's something that's really bothering me. And that is, a couple months ago, we were talking about neighborhoods deteriorating because of rentals. I don't like that. I've owned a lot of rental homes. I had over 50 of them 5 years ago. I have less than 20 today. I've been turning many of these homes over to the people who've been renting them. 15 of the existing homes that I rent, the people have rented those homes for over 20 years. Now, I can't be a bad person. People, I get this feeling, when you talk about rentals, that you're talking to me. And I resent that. Because my wife and I have shared the good fortune that God's blessed us with in this community. But I don't like that. I don't like it one bit. And we have to look at the history of all this thing. A lot of people don't remember St. Genevieve before 1993, the flood. Main Street was house after house after house, and I can give you names of people who live there. These are outstanding citizens. But when they start tearing the houses down, we tore down 132 houses after the flood of 93. This is the facts that people don't understand. They don't understand it. But there was 132, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, and houses that have disappeared. We lost about 300 population after the flood of the 90s. These people are gone. They're gone forever. And we're rebuilding. So where are these people going? They're going down on Leahy Street, LaPorte Street, Ziegler Street, a few on Main Street, on LaPorte, and we've got a couple of these, quote, neighborhoods that you're referring to. One of them is 4th Street. It's turning quick. It's turning quick because of the houses that are vacant, empty. He's talking about the rental. Some of them are rental, but there's a lot of them are foreclosed. Foreclosed. Now what are we going to do about it? I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer by any means. But these are the problems that we are confronted with. What are we going to do for these people? Have less money? I mean, the poor will always be amongst us. I mean, God told us that. We can't eliminate the poor. And we got a government that's out doing stupid things right now with these foreclosed houses. I mean, putting up, getting out of town appraisers to come in to appraise them up to get them sold. And the houses that are being sold, they're not the locals. to come in here and buy them. I saw one today up on 4th Street. It was taken over by some people, out of St. Louis. It was a wonderful deal. For $50,000, they got a wonderful home. Wonderful home. And, but I could go on and on, but I just wanted to express myself on this stuff before we get too carried away on it. And, but I want to commend the people that serve on these committees and things. I mean, it's a thankless, no win, no pay. They talk about these aldermen. Did you know we're the highest paid aldermen in an area around here? We pay these guys $275 a month. Most people don't even know what aldermen they pay. Because no other towns around here pay like that. But good old St. Genevieve, we pay. So anyway, that's enough.
All right. Fred?
Somebody opened up the landmarks issue. I just have a couple statements that has been burning me for 16 months. We do definitely need to make some changes, and it's going to take all of us to work together. About 16 months ago, I went in front of landmarks, and I was actually treated like crap. I was embarrassed. I was outraged to the point where within 24 hours, I had resigned from every committee that I belonged to downtown. I was that mad, which included the Foundation for Restoration, just because I had to look at some of these same people across the table at these other meetings. So we need to eliminate this hostile environment that they've created at some of these meetings. I've been doing this for 30 years, fixing up these houses in this north end of town. I didn't appreciate the way I was treated. On to the next subject. We need to clarify a lot of the issues where you're confused because this guy gets to put vinyl on, this guy doesn't. Good example, the same house on 3rd Street I was remodeling. I was still mad about all this that I went through with landmarks, and just a few weeks had gone by, and right around the corner there was a gentleman who had bought a house, and I went past, and I saw that his crew was putting vinyl siding and vinyl windows on the back porch. So I called the building department, talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy said, well, that's strange because the police were already there this morning doing a stop work order. And I said, okay, that's why I'm calling. Set the phone down and hollered across the wall to Brenda and asked Brenda, what's going on down there? And she said, why? He said, well, Brad Fisher's on the phone and wants to know because they're down there working again. She said, it's none of Brad Fisher's damn business. She didn't know the phone was open, that I could hear. So it's not just landmarks, it goes deeper. But we can fix this. We're going to all have to work together at it. There's no need for this hostility.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've never had any problem until about the last 2 years now. And it's getting out of hand. We just need to stop it now. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm willing to be a part of the solution if anybody else will work with it.
Anyone else?
I do have something. And I live on the Hay Street home, Sean. And I do live down. I love that. I think what Hay Street? I mean, that was a place to be, but I don't see it, and I think he does get a bum rap. But Ed, you and I both know Jen and them rent a house from him, and they love him. He is a good landlord. But Mike, I have a question is for, I just don't want you to feel bad, Larry. I think I think you do a good job. But there are some things like the city pool. What are they going to do with the city pool? Because I know this is supposed to be about our ward and everything, and we're kind of sidetracked onto
That happens every time, doesn't it?
But the city pool is, I mean, I was just up there sleigh riding with the kids when it snowed, and I was like, what are they going to do with this?
The whole underneath of the city pool has settled to a point to where it cannot be repaired.
Which is fine, but I mean, it's just vacant. Can't you fill it in and make it like a pavilion, use the bathrooms and stuff?
Well, there's more than one proposal, actually. In fact, right before Mr. Toma came on board, which there was some other problems that we never got back to it. And we didn't know what the money situation was gonna be, but there's been, tennis courts, barbecue pavilions, parking area. There's been half a dozen more restrooms. He hasn't heard any of this because right when we was trying to make these decisions of what to do and if we were gonna have the money,
It just seems like a.
Mike left. And when Mike left, we had a lot of catching up to do. Be quite honest, that wasn't a priority. I mean, I wanted it to be.
But we have a lot of people because our children in Ten Valley, the CAC soccer tournaments up there every Saturday. I mean, you got a lot of people from out of town coming right to that area to see that nasty.
And the police department's not happy with it either because there's some things going on up there that shouldn't be going on. But it's
What'd you say?
I feel it is a dangerous structure, it's a vacant.
It's got
that's-
water in it too, it's got
Chain
water in
link,
it.
I don't think you can give the city insurance, and insurance, the city likes it either, sitting up there vacant.
no.
You know, I think it could be an eyesore. How long has it been there? How long has this pool not been used?
Oh, how long?
It's been over, I think it was closed 2 years after the community center.
Oh, was it? I thought it was longer than that. Maybe you're right. Yeah. It's been closed for a long time.
51, I think I started when I was 3.
Hey, no, it wasn't open, I got it here, it was open. It may be 5.
According to Dave, I asked him about that right away. And he went up there and him and Bruce went up there to do some pre-digging to see how far they had to go. They had to do some work up there anyway. I said, while you're there, just dig a little farther and see if we can do anything, if it's salvageable, any way we can keep it. And he come back and he says,
Oh, that poor
that's just gonna be a hole you're gonna be throwing money into. You're gonna have to do something else with it. So then we started ballparking ideas. What could we do with it? Tennis court was good because the tennis court we got down there now it's shot.
Yeah, but you could rehab that. I mean, put new nets on that and save money. That's ridiculous.
Was you the one that got that bid on that?
Yeah, you'd have to
It
resurface
was
it.
like $30,000 to resurface it.
Fill it, I mean, like.
No,
Oh, you mean fill the pool?
No, like.
the cracks in the tennis court.
No, not the tennis court. Tear out the concrete, fill that pool in so it's a flat surface.
Oh, yeah.
We can tear up the concrete and push the building in, it won't fill the pool. So we'd have to haul in material in order to bring it up to
Didn't we
grade.
spend thousands hauling material in the sinkhole up there that really didn't get done, and didn't add no more property to the park, that one sinkhole as you go into your left? That would have filled that pool up and took care of that area easily. All it said was take a chain link fence down and dump it in there instead of that sinkhole. I didn't understand that. I don't understand why we're getting grant for a bicycle park when we got a pool there. And maybe we can get the grant for the pool, you know, we got the community center now.
We're not gonna get no grant to tear down the pool.
Not tear it down, put a pool in. I'm just saying, this is what the city doesn't see. You know, we've seen this bicycle park. I've seen 3 different sets of plans for this bicycle trail. And I know plans, I would venture to say that they're $12,000 sets of plans. And I've seen it 3 times now. I don't know why this grant money can't be kind of twisted into something that we need to fix up. Because believe me, a bicycle is a good idea. But I don't think it's as important as maybe as the pool. Now we got the community center, which I know my kid can walk 3 miles out there like they all used to do, up to the park. We've got how many parks in town? 1, 2, 3 parks. And I think we only can maintain one of them nicely, the Valley Spring Park, which is very nice. I see people using it all the time. I think this is what the citizens don't know. The bicycle trail, no, I'd like to see something done with the swimming pool. Switch that grant money over there. But I know it ain't that easy.
Yeah, no. When you apply for a grant, you apply for it for
So why
not just give us some money and we'll put it wherever we want to put it.
Why wasn't it applied for something that we were?
Not even Uncle Sam's had
It's a
some
little
more.
bit more importance to the public, not incoming people to ride their bike down a trail. You know, I'm just,
It's
we're
not
just,
safe to ride your bike in town though. You hit my car.
well, it's a lot safer in St. Genevieve than it is anywhere else I've ever been.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But that's what I'm bringing up. The pool is an eyesore. I think we wasted money. I'm a member of the park board. I brought it up. Why are we dumping dirt there? We can dump it in this hole. The tanks are probably a danger to people because the old chlorine tanks are sitting there, open, and it's in our ward. I mean, I just don't see nothing. And everybody says it takes time. It takes this. As soon as a kid gets hit by a car going walking to school, maybe this will go a little bit faster. You're telling me you didn't know who owned the property down in Little Rock? I think in 20 minutes I could find out who owned that property.
No, you kidding?
Took me a day and a half.
Okay.
The county records show it as being owned by Burlington Northern. Burlington Northern thought they owned it until it came time to sign the lease.
Okay.
I
think it's easier. You know a lot more than me.
Go ahead.
I had trouble with Main Street gets inundated with water because the railroad's drainage under the railroad tracks is inadequate. Are you familiar with that?
I'm intimately familiar.
Okay, today I seen 6 Burlington Northern people walking down looking at it. So I'm thinking, whoa, yes. I made 4 phone calls 2 years ago. Finally got hold of Larry, the dude in charge of it, called him, and he was there the next day. Well, I called the wrong railroad company. I called the other one. And he got looking at the track and he says, "You don't own that track. That's not our responsibility." But we laid a level, we shot a grade, and he says, "You're right. The field's too high, but I can't help you." That was done in a week. And now I see him walking up and down, and I have a ditch in front of my house that has 8.5 foot of water in it on an average rain. 8.5 feet, 6 inches from off the side of the road. So we'll see a bicycle comes down and falls into that. I think that's an imminent danger. You know what I mean? I get in the ditch and I can't see out of it. And how long has it been? I mean, it's time. So maybe they're going to do something. But I think our city attorney or the city as an entity has a right to get the railroad to do something, and they can demand it through our congressman or something. It is a danger. I mean, and I don't know. I don't think we're going about it right. I think this problem could be taken care of. Now, I'll personally tomorrow go down and see the men walking, and I'll talk to them. What are you doing? No, we were just told to come here and look. I just don't like the time span it takes. I'm in business, Brad's in business. I think we need to see more people involved. If I don't get a bid in time, if I don't respond now, I lose the job, I don't get paid. He's familiar with that. I'd like to see him on the same board I'm in, landmarks, because he knows, bang, 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 it's got to be done or we're going to lose. Now, when you run into politics, it's different. I understand that. But don't try to remake laws that are already there. I went to Brenda. How tall does the grass have to be to get a violation? Well, let's look. 7 inches. Okay? And I'm just talking about why things are 7 inches. I said, so what's the format you follow? Bang, 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 right there. About 2 hours worth of work. And then it's in somebody's hands that if they drop the ball, they can be held responsible. You know, I keep getting kind of off the track here, but nothing's going to get done if we don't follow the chain of command. The swimming pool, the water inundation, the rental properties that are not bad. The laws are there. So I think the citizens has a responsibility now to find the law and say, okay, you dropped the ball. Brenda is responsible for the renewal of the landmarks board. Now let them know, Sandy Kohler verified that, to let them know, so she dropped the ball. Not the alderman, not the landmarks. She's a paid part of the city. So I think if you point a finger at her, she'll stay up all night and get it taken care of. Now I do agree that you two walked into a mess. This town has been left to rot and now we're to the point where houses have to be torn down and there'll be vacant lots. But I hate to see people keep talking about it takes time. It's in the books. The fines, the levies, the time it takes. The police showed up on a bale of straw, but they won't show up with mud in the road or mattresses on a trampoline for 6 months. So I think that if the city's if the people get responsible, go to City Hall, find out the procedure, and you'll find out it takes 3 weeks. Less than that, you know. I hate to keep hearing these complaints, and it keeps coming back, it's going to take a long time. No, it doesn't. You know what I mean? I'm going to say something about the box springs on the trampoline, and I guarantee you it'll be taken care of in the next 3 days. I think it will be, you know.
I worked through the flood at night, but it was night. was 15 years ago. Even before the flood, actually the flood wiped out some things that probably needed to be cleaned up. But I think we came a long way.
Well, hopefully we'll get there one of these days. I hate to keep saying it's gonna take a while, but unfortunately, it just does.
You never get there, you just get better.
You just get, well, we're gonna improve. I promise you that. We're gonna keep trying to improve. Before we close this thing, if anybody wants our needs, I have, Keith and I both have email addresses that you can email us at our city boxes. I don't know whether you had, they were put in the paper a couple of weeks, but I don't know if anybody wrote them down. If you want them, I got it here for you. You're welcome to copy it down after the meeting, or I'll give it to you now, whatever you decide. But in closing, I'd really like to thank everybody for showing up. I think this is good. I think every once in a while you got to shake the establishment up and make them pay attention. I appreciate everybody showing up, and if you don't have anything else, thank you for being here.
We are your city audience, so we do, we need you guys to come to our meetings or come to us, talk to us. Like Phil said, call us anytime, come to the city meetings, let us know your concerns. So, thank you all.